My name is Eric Worth. I'm the VP of Operations here at StatusCast. And again, I'm excited today to be talking with everybody about end user incident reporting and how we can make that happen with StatusCast. Now, I'm sure most people watching this webinar have experienced this to some degree. It's a Tuesday afternoon and your support manager pings you because tickets are starting to come in. And at that same moment, you get an alert from your app monitoring that something's gone down. As really best as we try to automate and monitor our own products and services, we're just never going to be able to get away from the occasional issue that a customer or an end user runs into before you are aware about it, and they take the time to report it to you. So accepting this reality, we can kind of look at historically, how have we seen this problem tackled? More often than not, people end up contacting a support team. And this is sort of a classic issue that status pages want to solve, is that we don't want your end users to have to go to your support all the time, because that's going to take up other employees' time. It's going to often reduce efficiency overall. It's going to create kind of lost productivity all around. So going to a support team, while the classic step, is not necessarily the most efficient step. Some organizations will try to offer custom forms where you can maybe input if you're having a problem at a certain point. They might have those forms deployed to different spots, maybe in support portals or in applications, and you kind of hope that everything is piped together and give you one central line of communication, but it's often just kind of managed on its own. Some organizations may also be represented on, kind of traditional crowdsourced status detectors like Down Detector. These applications are often algorithm driven. So the problem is really based off of the number of people reporting something, and it's not really representing an official statement from your organization. And it's often also giving you an oversimplified view of the organization. So we ask ourselves, is there something better? This is a common problem that we see from StatusCast with that our clients deal with. And we've always felt that the status page is acting as the home base for users when there's an issue. If you are a user who has a status page and you don't get notified about something going down, generally your first thought is going to be to go, let's go to the status page and see if there is something going on. Now, traditionally, if nothing is reported on the status page, then users are often kind of left in the dark, and they're up for one of those other options that we mentioned, maybe contacting a support, trying to go look for other information elsewhere. But again, this is just starting to take more time out of people's schedules, and it may be involving other folks. And again, just lost productivity is felt across the board in a lot of cases. So here at StatusCast, we're introducing end user incident reporting for your status pages. This feature is currently live and available to all customers who have the corporate or enterprise tier package of StatusCast. This enables you to add a simple feedback button to your page that'll let users, with one click, submit a report to your team that can be reviewed and then eventually acted upon, potentially to create an incident or maybe to disregard in case if it's just simply a one-off report. And once the end user incident reporting is live on your page, you'll see a report a problem button. And this gives the users kind of that chance to enter in some of that information I was referring to just now. But we're going to take a closer look at this in just a couple minutes when we give you a demo of the feature itself. So in looking at a feature like this, what are you really gaining out of this as an organization? First and foremost, we're looking to simplify incident reporting. Your status page, like I said, is where folks are already going when there's something going on. Forcing them to go to different resources or to contact different people or to do different things and to leave the status page, that's just adding additional steps that don't really need to be taken. Users are already there. You can give them a mechanism to report to you straight from the status page. We'll ultimately expect improved customer satisfaction. Like most features within the status page kind of world or feature set, things that give an enhanced feeling of transparency or letting your end users feel like they're a little bit more part of the process for you is ultimately going to let you build a stronger relationship. We're also going to see increased efficiency. End user feedback is direct from the source. It's going to give you more direct reporting. It may help you streamline too what is going on, and as well as improve your prioritization. So if there's a lot of nuts and bolts or working parts to your organization, sometimes if a monitor sets off that something's going down, it's not extremely obvious what that is. end users who are facing a very specific problem who are reporting that to you, they're going to help you kind of prioritize and get into the issues and ultimately solve them quicker. So our goal overall is really to make this part of the process, the kind of end user facing reporting of incidents, just simpler overall. We've talked a bit about this feature and kind of how it can be utilized from the status page perspective. I want to just take a couple minutes and give us a quick look at how this kind of acts on StatusCast today and how we can kind of customize it. Just give me one moment and we're going to switch my screen and bring up a status page that we can use to demo this. Okay, so as I said, it's a Tuesday afternoon and I'm an end user. I wanted to access Acme's web application, but I am having problems. It's extremely slow. I come to the status page, I see their current status is normal. The web app status for this is normal. They have some upcoming maintenances, but nothing that should be impacting me directly. Like I said, as an end user, what could I do? Traditionally, I might have to, again, take other steps to go and contact this organization, but a status page that has a report a problem button built directly into it gives me a very simple way to go ahead and, again, report this issue. So when I click report a problem in this case, I'm going to be asked to first select what component is this related to. This is important because, some of these traditional down detectors that we mentioned, there is not a real hierarchy represented from your organization. The status page, the components that you have listed here, these are exactly what you want represented on the page. And this is going to give you some specific capability to let people kind of correctly indicate what is impacting them. So like I said, I want to access Acme's web application, but it's super slow. I want to maybe fill out some additional information. So this page is letting me kind of categorize this issue. Is this something that maybe is minimally impacting me? Is it a degraded functionality, or maybe a critical problem that I'm experiencing? Let's say this one is degraded in this case, and we'll just say the admin portal is so slow, it's unusable. Now at this point, I can click submit, and we'll get a quick kind of feedback letting me know that, hey, my feedback has actually been submitted to the status page. So now we want to kind of take off our end user hat and put on the administrative hat. You in StatusCast, how are you deal with this? How are you getting notified? And what can you do with this information? So I'm already signed into this page as an administrator. So we're just going to real quick go to my /admin URL, and we'll be brought to the dashboard here initially. Now, like with most things in StatusCast, these can be configured to alert us in different cases. So I, as an end user, would have gotten an email as well as a text message just now that we had a new issue that had been reported. And you can see here on the left side of the screen, we have this reported issues section. So once I click into this, we're going to see I've actually had a couple reports of degraded activity here. Now, this is an area where, once we see the kind of similar things being reported, again, it's all against my web application. This might tell me, hey, we are actually having some issues. Within this about 20-minute span, we had a lot of people talk to us about degraded performances. On a status page that requires authentication, people who submit this, who they submit, who they are. If it's a public status page that you allow anonymous submissions, you can allow that as well, or again, require that they give you some sort of information. But once we've gotten this feedback, what do we want to do with it? It could potentially be a one-off, and I might want to select this one in particular and just under actions, click delete reported problems. This isn't relevant to us. It's maybe a one-off. We only got one report of it, and we never saw it come back up. But maybe this is a real-time problem. My support manager is pinging me that they're getting tickets, and we're starting to get these reports come in. What's the simplest action that we could do from the StatusCast perspective? We can select all relevant feedback, and I say I want to create an incident based off of this feedback. Now, we've gotten several reports, so StatusCast is going to go ahead and create a draft for us. So it's kind of done some of the work ahead of time for me. I have an incident pre-created, again, against the component that was being kind of marked in this case as affected. So my web application for Acme is currently just slow. And the overall status as well was set to degraded. Now, this is not a live event. So StatusCast does not want to automatically push this out without you being able to go in and review it. So we can see here kind of each entry that was converted here. I can click edit on this if I would want to kind of grab any of the content out. we could potentially change things around. So again, if people were reporting this as degraded, I might want to set it as degraded. We can do this here. We could also always maybe add a post. Again, if I wanted to use some more templated text that I have saved within the account, we could add a new one, put our post information here, and then create this within the page. Let's go ahead, instead of adding a new one, let's just edit this existing one. And we're just going to click draft. Now, in this case, because StatusCast does allow us to draft single posts, we can create this with some of the older feedback kind of listed there. If this is historically maybe not super relevant to us, we can always just clean these up a little bit. Let me get rid of these extra ones, because at the end of the day, this is the one important message that I want to have out. We can click publish. And then again, I'm just going to be taken through the incident process as I would generally, in which case I might want to send out emails now. Again, we've had a few folks report that there's an issue, and I want to let people know via email that we are having some degraded performance. So it's as simple as clicking publish. And then now it's going to be treated as an incident, just like any other that we might be managing within the system, whether it was manually created or automatically created. The feedback provided us a new entry point to be able to create the incident, as well as, again, gather that initial feedback. So as I said, this feature is currently live and available within StatusCast. If you all have a corporate or an enterprise tier package, you would be able to go in and set this up today. Setting this up is extremely easy. If we just go to the settings section as well, you'll notice that there is an issues reporting subsection. And all you have to do to enable this is simply check this box, and then you can start filling in some of the additional information if you want to add categories and so on. Utilizing this, though, is very straightforward. As you just saw in a couple steps, someone is able to add feedback, report an incident to you, and then you're able to act on it and hopefully save some time and make things a little bit more efficient overall when people do report these types of issues to you. That's going to go ahead and conclude the demo and the for our webinar today. I did want to open up the floor for any questions. If anyone has any questions about this feature. So when a status based on the incident report is created, will it email the person who submitted that? At the moment, it does not. We would normally expect someone reporting this to probably be set up as a subscriber, to the services that they are already subscribed. They're reporting something into the services that are relevant to them. That is an interesting idea, though. If from a private status page perspective, if we are collecting that information, we might be able to send them that notice directly as well. That could be an interesting feature enhancement for this. So another couple questions coming. Are there any options for forwarding a report of a problem to other services? At this time, we do not have a way to kind of push this outside of StatusCast. We have we have had some ideas for ways to potentially allow this to get kind of pushed into other systems. Now, this can work in tandem with any of our kind of existing notification channels. So, if we're pushing stuff into like Slack or MS Teams, for example, it can be communicated out to that as well. Let's see here. Can you report a problem route to beacons where the rules can be used to trigger responses? So that's actually a really cool idea. That was something when we were first kind of designing this functionality. We did actually ultimately want to tie it back into beacons, and I think that's still on the roadmap for us with kind of with the first enhanced version of this, where you'll have a little bit more flexibility to say, kind of let the beacons rule set define exactly what you do and do not want to use. We want to offer some options that'll let people kind of automate this to a degree. And then certainly tying it into beacons is something we're going to be looking to do more in the future. So when you post a status based on an incident report, I'm sorry, we already went through that one. Let's see if we get some others. So, okay, does a user have to fill in his own info, or will it be registered automatically? So if somebody is authenticated to the status page already, similar like I was, there is no required action to collect who submitted it. So if you're using a private status page with us, for example, anybody who submits that feedback, you're going to have their email noted there. Let's see here, just looking at some of the other ones. I apologize. When we post a status based on the incident, will it email? Oh, sorry, we answered that. What happens to the reports after a status has been posted? Any further action? I would say that is slightly dependent on kind of the organization's kind of workflow. Usually with these types of features, again, assuming that the people who are reporting the issue are the people who are kind of getting looped into being notified, they shouldn't really need any additional action because they are now getting the official response from you, your organization, about the issue, any updates you post, and then similarly the resolution. So, this is really acting as a way to create a new incident, but the process for managing the incident should generally be the same as your incident management process today, where people are going to get kind of informed of the resolution. And if there is like an RCA that you're going to post about it, again, that'll all be linked back to the original issue in and of itself. I think that goes for all the questions that we had gotten ported into here. Looks like we got one more. If you created based on notices, do the notices remain in reported issues or do they disappear if they're posted? So once you consume the feedback, so when we come back to my reported issues section here, you can see here, I went and consumed those 3 that we had reported earlier. So they're no longer sitting there. And our thought process with that is, you don't want generally kind of historic ones just kind of sitting there clogging up the view. Once they have been kind of consumed, there's often not a whole lot of need for that after the fact. However, depending on how you want to leave that data within the incident, some of it could be drafted, still be kind of actionable. But the reported issues section will kind of empty it out as you consume them. So I don't think we've gotten any other questions roll through. So like I said, this is a feature that is currently live and available for anybody who is on a corporate or an enterprise tier package. We would love for everyone on this webinar, viewing this webinar, to give it a spin and ironically give us your feedback. We want to hear what you think about this. This type of feature is pretty new in the status page world. As I said, in our presentation, it really makes sense to have this sort of functionality, this mechanism put on the status page. Your status page is already really kind of home base for people when there's an incident going on. So providing this functionality really just makes sense ultimately there. But yeah, as I said, this is going to conclude the demo portion of our webinar. I'm glad everyone was able to hop on with us today, and a recording of this will be made available to anybody who signed up. And if you are able to start using this feature, you have any questions or you want any additional help or information, please reach out to our support team either through chat directly in the app or by shooting us an email at support@statuscast.com. Again, thank you everyone for your time today. It was a pleasure and look forward to seeing some of your end user generated incidents. Have a good one.